Thus, we start with the situation in North America where the meeting of two very big political personalities has taken place. Yes, we are talking about Donald Trump and Mark Carney. Mark Carney, of course, the newly elected Canadian Prime Minister. He's in Washington, D.C. Talks with the US President Donald Trump have been taking place. It promised to be a turbulent encounter. Carney, of course, keen to confront Trump over trade tariffs. And he has condemned Trump's talk of Canada being annexed by the United States. Carney, of course, a former head of central banks of two G7 nations, has arguably a better pedigree and grasp of world economics than Trump and his entire administration. The conversation certainly would have been very interesting to eavesdrop. Let's listen to both men.
You know, as a real estate developer, I'm a real estate developer at heart. When you get rid of that artificially drawn line, somebody drew that line many years ago with like a ruler, just a straight line right across the top of the country. When you look at that beautiful formation when it's together, I'm a very artistic person, but when I looked at that beauty, I said that's the way it was meant to be.
Well, if I may, as you know from real estate, there are some places that are never for sale. And having met with the owners of Canada over the course of the campaign last several months, it's not for sale, won't be for sale ever. But the opportunity is in the partnership and what we can build together.
Well, we heard what both men had to say. Let's bring in our correspondent in Ottawa, Christopher Guly, standing by, joining us live. Christopher, a very good evening to you. What did you make of this meeting of the two men? A real head-to-head, wasn't it?
It was. I mean, it started off incredibly cordial. I mean, President Trump was congratulating Mark Carney for winning the election. And as you remember, on Election Day, he weighed in on it and he spoke very favorably of working with a Liberal government. And he's got that. And then toward the end, it kind of went off the rails a little bit when Trump started talking about the annexation, the trade deficit, and then taking shots at Justin Trudeau as Governor Trudeau and Christopher Freeland, who was Foreign Affairs Minister, Finance Minister in the Trudeau government, who helped negotiate that NAFTA 2.0 with the Trump administration. You could see that Mark Carney was getting visibly uncomfortable, like he wanted to weigh in. But I mean, he got his points in for sure that, as you mentioned, Canada is not for sale.
I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? Carney clearly has a far greater grasp of the issues in hand, and clearly a far better memory and a far more accurate recall of events than both Trump has and his administration. So I imagine for Carney, a lot of this meeting was spent basically biting his tongue, not trying to say the wrong thing, because to make Trump angry, of course, would be very counterproductive.
Yeah, I don't think they wanted a repeat of the Volodymyr Zelensky meeting a couple of months ago. The Carney cabinet ministers who were there were very controlled and measured. There was no, facial giveaways in terms of how they viewed what was coming out of Trump's mouth. But it would be interesting to see what happens behind closed doors. I think Trump respects Carney, given his background. The governor of two central banks, incredible experience with Goldman Sachs on Wall Street, working with the UN on climate action. Trump likes credentials. And I think that he also liked the fact that Carney was also very complimentary to Trump. He called Trump a transformational president, which is certainly true. I'm not sure if there was some subtext to that, but I think it's a positive start. I think that that Trump respected Carney standing his ground. There was no back and forth exchange. So I think there's respect there. I think there's absolutely respect from the U.S. president toward the Canadian Prime Minister, and we saw that on display today.
And Mr. Carney is a Canadian, and they are by nature polite people. So perhaps he was hiding exactly what he meant. But can I just point out what you've just reiterating what you've just said? Carney's saying that Trump, with his tactics, has woken up NATO and woken up Europe to the need to really invest more in its own defence, which I think some of the observers say this is actually one of the positive things from what Trump has been doing. But obviously the tariffs is another matter, and that is something that is affecting Canada and the US. I suppose it's a moot point. Is it affecting Canada more than it's affecting the US, or vice versa? Because Trump, in a sense, has acted in a way that is having a real sort of like knockback on his own workers in many ways. But I'm wondering what Carney's approach to the tariffs was. What is he looking for? Clearly a better deal, I suppose.
Absolutely. I think he signaled that by talking about automobile manufacturing. It's 50% on both sides of the border, so 50% of the parts come from Canada. Uh, Trump says he doesn't want Canada to produce automobiles or vehicles for the U.S. He doesn't want Canadian steel. But I think what's going to happen today, and we'll know better in about an hour when Prime Minister Carney holds a press conference, is that I think that there's going to be some hard initial negotiations on this Trump tariff business. And I think that Carney's going to present his case for Canada. You know, you talked about waking up NATO and that. I think Trump has also woken up Canada, and that Canada's looking inward in terms of trade, expanding internal trade, and looking for other trading partners. So I think what's happening now is maybe a revitalization of what was once the best friendship, and see where this goes into the future.
Christopher Guly in Ottawa, thank you very much indeed, as always, for the